It's midday right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters. I'm Jeffrey Osun. Let's bring you up to speed with big happenings in the polity and in politics. Inspector General of Police Kade Egbetokun says the federal government is committed to ending killings in Benue and parts of the country as it visits the scene of the carnage. And the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, says saboteurs are also involved in the dastardly acts of killing innocent citizens. Thanks again for joining us on the program. All eyes are still on Benue State, given the carnage that has played out. We'll get to that in just a moment, as well as other political conversation. But let's bring you up to speed with some remarks that were made at the stakeholders meeting during the legislative dialogue of the National Assembly yesterday, where the Honorable Minister for Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, had actually reeled out some of the measures that are necessary to be able to have a more formidable, secure country around our border, especially things that has to do with reforms in the police and financing model. Let's take a listen to him.
Security, internal security, the first thing that comes to a Nigerian mind is the military. That is a sign of failure of our internal security agencies. Let's tell ourselves the truth. So for me, the police, in terms of adequate funding, I do not see a reason why our police, for instance, should even rely on budgetary allocation. There are some of our agencies that were formed under the military, that the rationale and the justification of their formation at this stage has moved beyond that. We cannot continue to service agencies that are not meeting our needs in the 21st century.
Well, very fiery, one of the star boys of the administration, Tunji Ojo, speaking frankly about the modeling or the model to finance our police formation as well as institutions. Some are actually irrelevant as we speak. Let's bring you that story about what the president has said. He will be visiting Benue State tomorrow as part of his renewed efforts to foster peace and address the persistent conflict affecting communities in that state. The president spoke during the commissioning of a project in the nation's capital, Abuja, talking about there has to be an assessment of the recurring crisis that has claimed numerous lives and caused significant destruction. The president says he will meet with all stakeholders, including traditional rulers, political, religious, community leaders, and youth groups as well, to seek lasting solution.
Why I sympathize with the Benue people, I've spoken to the governor. The leadership and people of Benue should accept our condolences and tried hard, very, very consciously, to maintain peace, harmony among themselves. I've always said this, that we are one single huge family living in the same house, stay in different rooms, but living together in harmony will be the result of our diversity for prosperity. We should be able to manage our anger and frustrations. I sympathize those who have lost their life. I will adjust my program and go see Benue people on Wednesday.
So that was when the President Bola Tinubu, President of Nigeria, making that announcement of his now rescheduled visit to Benue State. Let's also tell you that prior to that, his visit to the military formation, as well as some hierarchy in the security architecture already there. Inspector General of Police Kade Egbetokun with the Chief of Defense Staff, also visited Benue alongside the State Governor, Isen Delia. They embarked on a tour of the Yawata community to see the level of carnage that took place in that area. And this is what they had to say afterwards to journalists.
With His Excellency, the Governor of Benue State, and the good people of Benue State. Like the IGP mentioned, this is one too many killings. We're tired of innocent souls being killed, and we're here to ensure that we address such. From now, I'll be going to see my commanders, and we have to change our strategy. We're going to look inward and see how we can address it. But like we mentioned, we cannot do it alone without the community, without the state. We need everybody to be part of it. We understand that even before now, we used to have, even within us, people that compromise and give information. Because going around, you see the way some of the burnings were made, they were targeted, and which means they had insiders. And so I've discussed with the communities, the traditional rulers, with the clergy, for us to work united. There have been some issues on trust, and that we're going to address.
When one incident happened, hundreds of incidents have been prevented that are not known to the public. So that this happened does not mean that we have not been deploying. We have actually been deploying. We've been working together with the military and with other security agencies to ensure that this reign of impunity of these criminal elements ends, and we are committed to this. This attack on the peaceful Yelewata community is one attack too many. It is not just an attack on the people of Benue State. It's an attack on the entire nation. And we are not going to accept it.
Apparently, I totally agree with the IGP. It's totally unacceptable. We're a sovereign country under God, and so we will protect our territory, and the right things have to be done to ensure that happens. But as soon as we get our correspondent, Pius Angbo, will join us at some point to give us update as to the deployment that the police have spoken about. But for now, let's move on to other issues that has to do with the politics that is playing out in Osun State. Now, there's been this back and forth as to the status of what is playing out in the local government councils. As a matter of fact, sadly, 5 persons have died because 2022, some persons were elected and they were ousted from their seats via the courts. And January this year, they were reinstated by the Court of Appeal. But there was also another court case that they also lost at that year. And also they tried to release, but we understand that the Court of Appeal has said no, the appeal lacked merits. And of course, whatever they tried to release is now dismissed. So this is where we are. We're going to break it down in just a moment because it's surprising that within the context of our jurisprudence, what should naturally give closure in terms of verdict from the court starts creating more confusion. So let's make sense of what I'm talking about today on the program, because as we speak, we have 2 sets of people claiming to lead the administration of the local government areas, one of the APC, the other of the PDP. We're being joined on the program by Mr. Kola Olabisi. He's the APC spokesperson in Osun State. Mr. Olabisi, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Yeah, good afternoon, viewers and listeners.
I also have with me right here in our Lagos studio, Mr. Festus Ogun. He's a legal practitioner. Mr. Ogun, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for all this.
Yeah, let me go to, let's go to Mr. Olabisi. Mr. Olabisi, so I want to read the last phrase. Just give me 1 second. I want to go to that particular statement by the judge, the Court of Appeal judge who read the judgment of the Court of Appeal. And I want to give us an understanding of what this means. In quoting the judge says, the sudden attempt to resurrect this appeal through this same court will only lead to confusion, and this court will resist such attempt to lure it into unwittingly sit on appeal with the case number CAA case 270-2022. Everything in this application shows that the third appellant has not shown good cause why this application should be granted. The fate that has befallen them is self-inflicted. It is therefore my conclusion that this appeal lacks merit and is accordingly dismissed. I just quoted the judge verbatim, or the justice of the Court of Appeal. What is the interpretation of the APC of this judgment?
Though, assuming without conceding what you have just read, or in as much as the CTC is not out, but let me say this: that statement you have just read strengthened or gave a backbone to our case in court that there is no need for the appeal court to repeat, to reverse itself, take into cognizance the fact that it's a similar. They have given a judgment on similar issue on 10th of February 2025. So bringing that case to the court again, so amounted to asking, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal to reverse itself. So what the Supreme Court is saying, in essence, is that it has become a functus. It has become that case is closed, functus officio, right? But there's no way that the Court of Appeal can go back to its vomit. So it further strengthened the portion that you read to us further strengthened the case of what the APC Osun State, what they have been clamoring for. You understand that if anybody wants to challenge that, there is nothing that can challenge that aspect. That case cannot be challenged unless it by another court which is higher than Court of Appeal. What is done cannot be undone by the same court. So that is what it's saying.
Mr. Labisi, can you hear me?
Listening?
Are you a lawyer? I just wanted to find out. Are you a lawyer? Do you have a legal background?
Why are you asking me?
It's just a question. Are you a lawyer, Mr. Labisi? It's just a question. There's no...
Look, one does not need to be a lawyer before it's a...
Mr. Labisi, if you're not... Mr. Labisi, if you're not a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer. I am not a lawyer, so I can't claim to be a lawyer. If you're not a lawyer, not a lawyer. I'm not asking anything more than that. Are you a lawyer or not?
I have a legal background. You understand?
Okay.
So...
All right, let's...
That is not the issue here. Whether
okay,
I'm a lawyer
yes.
or I'm not a lawyer.
I needed to have that.
The court has become functus officio. Simple.
All right, let's Mr. Ogun, you heard Mr. Labisi. What's your interpretation of this judgment?
The Court of Appeal has correctly applied the law by resisting the temptation set or the trap set by the APC, which was to resurrect a case that they have initially abandoned. It is so interesting that the APP judgment that nullified the election or the purported election of the local government chairman and councillors was initially appealed against by the APC. They never prosecuted it. In fact, the appeal was filed. At the time they filed the sister appeal against the judgment obtained by the PDP at the Federal High Court. So what the Court of Appeal essentially said was that if you could have prosecuted the judgment that nullified your election obtained by the PDP, why did you not prosecute this one, this APP judgment that nullified your election obtained by the APP? Why did you not prosecute it? The judgment came almost about the same time. You filed an appeal challenging the two. You were successful in one. The other one, you abandoned it. The implication of which in law is that the failure to prosecute that appeal means that that judgment of the APP nullifying their candidacy or nullifying their election stands. So In fact, as you have read, rightly read, the court understood that upon the failure of the APC to prosecute that appeal for over 24 months, the appeal was dismissed by the court. Now, you are now bringing an application to release that matter. The court said, you have not furnished the court with enough justification that would warrant the grant of this application. The court went ahead to say that an attempt to grant this suspicious application will cause confusion, because the court has seen through the antics of the APC that what they intend to do, in my respectful view, and as the court has really seen, is to cause confusion in the polity. And that is why we are here. I have said it at the last time I was on this show, that it is sad that we are having this conversation in the first place. The APC, who had been saying that, no, oh, look, the APP judgment has no effect, were the same persons that went to court to release it. If that judgment was not binding and valid, why would they make attempt to release it? So the court having dismissed that application reinforces the fact that the APP judgment stands, and that the nullification of the purported APC chairman stands. That is the position.
So let me ask you factually. I'm going to go to Mr. Labisi, but let me ask you. You're a lawyer. So the APC lost at the trial courts, at both trial courts,
Absolutely.
both for the PDP and the APP case.
Absolutely.
But for the PDP case, they won, right?
They won to the extent that...
No. Did they win? Did the court grant them their relief?
The matter was dismissed on the basis that the lower court, that's the Federal High Court, lacks jurisdiction. In other words, the lower court should not have entertained the matter in the first place, because as at the time they filed that matter...
So as far as...
I'm sorry, just a minute,
Mm.
just to clarify that. The essential reason why the court dismissed the PDP's case was because as at the time they filed that action, the election
Had not taken place.
had not taken place. In fact, there was no timetable for the conduct of the election, so they were only speculative.
So, as far as that judgment of the appeal court is concerned, that the APC won, what they did, is that a reinstatement of them?
As far as that judgment is concerned...
I'm taking it one after
yes,
the other.
As far as the PDP judgment is concerned, the court dismissed the action initially filed by the PDP, which means that, yes, it returns parties to status quo. But we must not forget that there is another judgment, which is the APP judgment.
No, I understand. We're going to come to the APP judgment.
Yes.
So apparently what I'm saying is that they lost at the trial court.
Yes.
They won at the Court of Appeal. Whatever the consequential action of that judgment is a different kettle of fish.
Absolutely.
Then now they have lost at the appeal court.
Absolutely.
So there are two. So they lost at the trial court 2 cases.
Yes.
They won at least, let's use the word won and lost 1. Let me come to Mr. Labisi. Mr. Labisi, let me read a part of the judgment to you. There are 3 appellants with 1 joint notice of appeal. Only one party is making an application to relist. Even if that one party can come alone, what are the reasons for bringing this application? If the APC is sincere, as a party that has many candidates affected by the appeal, one wonders why they went to sleep and failed to transmit records on time in accordance with law and the rules of the court. I want you to make a little inference, or what you understand by what I just read. And given the fact that, let me use the word cautiously, you won with the PDP case. Now that you've lost with the APP case, what is the status quo in your view?
It is not correct that the PDP and APC lost. So that the last June 13 ruling that the lawyer there is referring to, so is merely procedural. I did not give any order. So this is the course of the matter. On it is when the at the twilight, okay, specifically on on November 22. So the court of the federal court Osogbo so gave a judgment sending that sent packing all the APC council chairmen and the councillors. So and despite the he said when they were sent packing and the what should be ideal is for them to be in the office in as much as the appeal. So they appealed the case. When they appealed, despite the fact that they appealed, Governor Mola Deleke so issued executive order 6. So I'm saying they should vacate, all their secretariats.
Mr. Labisi, sorry, no, hold on. Because of time, just hold on. I just want us to be, concise with our response. My question is pretty simple. We're going to go on a break and come back. My question is simple. You are not answering my question. We already have the premise and the background to all of the issues at the lower court. Now, 2 judgments have come out of the courts. Whether you say, I don't know what you mean by you didn't lose. If you sought a relief or a prayer in the Court of Appeal and they say your relief is not granted and is therefore dismissed, I don't know what you won in that. But we're going to take a quick break. So you put your thoughts together and tell me exactly what the position is in terms of what should we be holding on to, because now everybody's holding on to the same piece of document we're all privy to at different points. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Mr. Labisi, just before I allow you to respond, because my question is to the effect that you are the one that made the 2 appeals, and one was in your favor, the other one was not in your favor. And part of what was said was, so I draw the attention to these facts in order to show the third appellant, which is APC, who was pursuing sister appeal based on the same facts and similar judgment of the same Judas, Ayo Emmanuel J. cannot claim ignorance for not compiling the records of appeal or have any credible reason for abandoning the prosecution of this appeal that was dismissed on 13th of January 2025. So I think the release has to border around maybe want of diligent prosecution. So my question is, which I would like you to answer frontally, is now that we have this judgment out, what is your own interpretation? What is subsisting? Is it the Court of Appeal judgment that has to do with the PDP, or the Court of Appeal judgment that has to do with the APP, which we've just seen the release recently?
I am telling us this, that the June 13, 2025 ruling of the Court of Appeal is merely procedural, and it does not have any effect on the February 10, 2025 judgment, Court of Appeal judgment that reinstated the APC council chairman and the councillors in Osun State.
So it was Mr. Labisi, sorry, because of time, I'm going to be cutting in so that I can bring, just hold on, sir. I'm going to be cutting in so that I can have Mr. I don't understand what you mean that it's only procedural. You made an appeal. Let's say that appeal was granted. Are you going to be talking about procedural? But you made your point. Let me come to Mr. Ogun. Because of time, my apologies, sir. Mr. Ogun, what do you make? He said they are holding on to the judgment of the PDP, the one that the PDP, the case against the PDP that was in their favor at the Court of Appeal. He said this APP case is merely procedural. What is that correct?
Let's get the issues very clearly, because that's important for, even enriching our jurisprudence. The Court of Appeal, in the appeal filed by the APC against the PDP, said that, come, I do know, even the Federal High Court do not have the jurisdiction to have entertained this matter. Essentially because the matter was filed prematurely. You don't speculate while going to court. The court did not consider the merit of that action. The court did not say, oh, the sack was correct, or the emergence was wrong. The court did not determine the merit. The court dismissed the appeal on the basis that the lower court had no jurisdiction. Now the APP case. The APP case at the trial court was filed maturely, and the APP won, and the court, looking at the merit of the action filed by the APP, indeed nullified the election of the APC candidates.
Okay.
Now, at the Court of Appeal dismissed the appeal filed by the APC against the judgment of the APP. That appeal was dismissed truthfully. That implies that the case or the judgment of the APP that considered the merit of that action stands. Okay. Now, not just that. I'm sorry. Just a minute.
Because of time.
Just a minute.
I must have Mr. Labisi have his thoughts.
Again, the Court of Appeal on the second occasion cemented the issue by saying that we do not have.
All right, Mr. Labisi, let's begin to wind down. Just 1 minute is what you have. Your reaction to what you've heard.
Yeah, what I'm saying in essence that for any it is not possible for an appeal court to set aside its own judgment. So if at all it is to be set aside, it has to be at the Supreme Court. So if the Supreme Court has not made any pronouncement on this, it means the APC, the recent APC chairman and councillors, so they remain the substantive officers of the council. And they are still there, and they have been working, and they still continue to be there. So if, and they, I don't think the PDP, they have the luxury of appealing the Court of Appeal June 10th.
Oh, okay, Mr. Labisi, totally out of time. Just 1 second. Are you appealing the case of the APP?
If the need arises, I can't say it emphatically.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Festus Ogun, legal practitioner, Labisi Kola, APC spokesperson in Osun State. Thank you, gentlemen. And that's it of the program. Thanks for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Ozama. Take care. Bye-bye.